when you get into the whole Sumerian thing, that you're talking about such ancient information that it's hard for people to believe that the pieces fit together. Now we're going more and more in that direction as time goes on, but I just think it's too early to say there's an absolute connection there.
When Mike Brown and Caltech made the announcement last week, and I think I talked to you that day, actually, didn't I? What went through your mind?
Just thank God it's about time the mainstream is recognizing that there's a strong gravitational effect, on the solar system. And he had actually, talked about pieces of this, 2 years ago, hinted at it in early 2014. The Spanish astronomers had come out in 2014 and mentioned there must be a couple of masses out there. But he's the one that framed the whole thing so cleanly, so beautifully, because remember, he actually killed the ninth planet, finding out that Pluto was so small, and there's a lot of things like Pluto, and that caused the astronomical community to address the issue and make this new division from, sort of classic planets to dwarf planets, minor planets. And so the fact that the guy that killed the ninth planet is now saying he's close to finding the ninth planet makes a really neat story, and I think it gets it the attention it needs.
Do you think, I don't want to be cavalier here, but do you think that Mike was feeling guilty about ixnaying Pluto? He had to come up with another planet.
I did read one article that I guess his daughter said something like, "Well, Dad, you killed Pluto, so you better find another one."
Right, I saw the same thing, and there's nothing wrong with that kind of that frame of mind. I wanted to read really quick, if you don't mind, one of your statements on your cycleofages.org, because the way that this is written here is exactly what this show and my philosophy is all about. But this is what you've got written here. You state, most history books still teach about 5,000 years ago mankind was a primitive hunter-gatherer incapable of complex thought. Under this paradigm, megalithic structures found all over the world were built for sacrificial purposes, to defy a ruler or to help a society ignorant of the seasons know when to plant its crops. Mankind was thought to be a brutish sort stuck in survival mode, incapable of little more than grunting and groaning. This myopic view is reinforced by misapplied evolutionary theory that requires that anything that came before us must be more primitive. I can't imagine saying it better. And is that how you live your life?
I try to. I think there's so much evidence that, long before the Dark Ages, a lot of good stuff was happening. And so it looks to me like we ignore much of that because we have a very strong paradigm, and that's evolution. And I'm not saying that things don't evolve on a long-term basis. I think they do. But I think there's a lot of cycles in between, just as you have the cycle of night and day and the cycle of the year, Earth going around the sun, and those both create massive changes, from migrations and spawning and hibernation and, everything springing out of the ground, giving its fruit and then decaying again. That if there are longer cycles, our whole solar system going around something else, then it would make a lot of sense what all these ancient cultures were talking about, at least 30 of them, according to Giorgio de Santillana, the former professor of history of science at MIT, that they believed that life moved in these patterns with dark ages and golden ages and back again.
With I want to get to your article here, and we'll talk about it after the break, but with that piece of knowledge, and especially 5,000 years ago when apparently, and the rest of the world is forging for seeds, and are technically in a Stone Age, that these amazing megalithic structures started popping up. And of course, we can reference Giza and the Great Pyramid, and that's shocking in itself. But you can even back up before that now and look at Göbekli Tepe and some of the stuff in Peru and also in China, that certainly man wasn't, forging for seeds. There was a grand intelligence there that came from somewhere else. Was it because they were taught this, or that there was remnants of another golden age that was still, alive and was, working its way around the planet?
Well, it's not been proven yet, which is the case, or if there's other reasons also. But I would say that it's both. That knowledge was, passed down, and there are remnants here and there. But I think even more importantly, that there's a much greater purpose to these structures. When you build something that's very heavy duty, and it lasts for over 5,000 years, over 11,000 years in Göbekli Tepe's case.
Right.
Thank goodness it was buried, or it would have been completely disappeared. But, and there's some purpose, and I think John Burke actually stumbled on that purpose. He talks about it in his book, Seed of Plenty, Stone of Knowledge, Seed of Plenty, something like that. But if I can just mention a little bit about that, he studied Avebury, which is one of the biggest henges in the world. It's so big there's a little town in the middle of it.
That's right.
And I think there's something like 100 and close to 100 stones left. Don't quote me on the number, but he identified each of these stones. Spent about a month there taking readings with a magnetometer and some other instruments to figure out the polarity of the stones. And he's done this at 81 other sites around the world, and found out some just amazing stuff. One of the most remarkable things about Avebury is that the stones face each other like dominoes. So the positive side is always, facing the next stone, and the negative side facing the stone behind it.
Right.
So the magnets are aligned, just like they would be at CERN, big accelerometer in Switzerland. And I'm not saying this is a particle accelerator, but I'm saying it takes some great purpose to align these things by their magnetism, when supposedly it's built at a time that primitives are doing it and don't even know how to tell which is a magnetic side or not. So it's something. And just for people that aren't familiar with that, all stones have a north and a south pole, because they're part of the Earth. The Earth has a north and a south pole. It has, and so it can be. That's why you can take a piece of the Earth, a stone, and determine, how it was formed when the Earth was formed. And so I think Avebury has some great purpose, and many other sites do also, that we just haven't discovered yet.
Yeah, it's fascinating to me to just picture 5,000 years ago, 2,500, 3,000 BC, out in the middle of the desert, in Giza, and somebody just one day goes, hey, you know what? Let's level out these limestone rocks here, and let's build a 42-story building. What do you guys say, huh? It just doesn't happen that way.
Let's don't mess around. Let's do it with precision engineering.
Let's do it.
Put some shafts in it, so we have to carve all the stones in advance and know exactly how they're going to fit together.
Yeah, and let's do it to magnetic north. What do you say? It's nuts to me to think like that. But yet, academia and Egyptologists are going to tell you, no, that's exactly what happened. And I just have a hard time buying into it. I do, and I think that one day hopefully, open minds and books will get rewritten and that'll prevail. I'm just astonished that everybody just wants to have a closed mind to it and hit me with, and it happens all the time, man, you're not giving Stone Age man enough credit. And it's just like, wait a minute. Oh, man, that's just too much of a stretch.
Yeah, no, I do think people are questioning what was built, how it was built, why it was built. Chris Dunn, I'm sure he's been on one of your shows, and he's found all this evidence of advanced engineering at many of the ancient pyramids. And it's, I think that when you find hard evidence like that, it's hard to ignore. There may not be a logical explanation yet, but at least the evidence starts building up and building up and building up so that someday somebody can come along and put forward, a logical hypothesis.
I thought Arthur C. Clarke did it really well when he wrote 2010 and brought in Jupiter as our binary star system, right? And they fired that up. And I thought that was pretty interesting. And it was certainly, he always had vision to the future. And lo and behold, our solar system was binary and we lit up Jupiter. Do you think that what Mike Brown has discovered here, that being a gaseous giant 10 times the size of Earth and so forth, that could possibly be our binary star?
So just to be accurate there, Mike Brown says there's evidence of a ninth planet because, when he looks at the way the solar system is shaped, and how the minor planets are patterned and what their orbits are, how the perihelions all closely line up, and they all sort of bend towards one side of the solar system, that he says something has to be, tugging them, pulling them, making them go in these patterns. And so he assumes it's a ninth planet, and that it's probably a pretty good size one because they need significant mass. I think I've heard ranges all over the place, but I think the most common is about 10 Earth masses.
Right.
And so I think that's just sort of the first answer for what the gravitational influence might be. And just to address, the comments, the little skepticism of whoever you were talking to before about this, it's logical that the planets close to the sun would stick within their plane, and these are the larger planets anyway, so there's a stronger gravitational bound between them and the sun.
Right.
And they'll have, rounder orbits, they're less, ecliptic, less oval, less eccentricity, they would say, than the outer planets. And then as you go farther out, you start to find things like Pluto, and that was first one that, whoa, that's really a pretty eccentric orbit. And it's also below the plane. All the other planets are within 2% of the plane, and Pluto's like 17 degrees below the plane. And so the ones they keep finding, smaller planets still, farther out still, they bend even more. And so you can start to picture this in your mind that it's painting something that's very logical, that if it's pulled from the outside, you are going to expect more perturbations in the smaller planets, and that's exactly what you see. Smaller, more distant planets, the farther they get from the sun.
You published your first paper about this 10 years ago, and did you feel at that time that you were, rolling that proverbial rock uphill, and were you bracing yourself for the blowback that you were going to get?
I think at first I was a little naive and just, I saw the research and I said, wow, this kind of points to the fact we might be in a binary system, or, something very big out there is causing all this stuff. And so I just kind of put it out there. And then as time went by, I was kind of surprised that the main scientific community just really doesn't want to hear about it. They've got all their plans down very neat for quite some time, and I was sort of disruptor, and it wasn't appreciated.
Yeah, you must have felt vindicated last week. Let's take a quick break here, Walter. We'll be right back with Walter Cruttenden. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Bespoke Radio for the masses. We're going to be talking about Planet Nine and his latest article that was just published. I believe it was yesterday. Walter Cruttenden, when we come back. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA Digital Broadcast Station.
People love to shop. What if you could shop and it was actually good for you? What if you could actually purchase items that bettered your life? What goes into your body is important to what quality of life you have. How about shopping for items that better your health? GetTheT.com is that shopping place. We're not only tea, even though that's our number one seller, we are about helping your health. There's Colostrum LD for those of you with autoimmune troubles. The product helps your stomach get on track. GI problems produce pain. Get relief with Colostrum LD. How about some fat burners? Or maybe some joint aid? Or a power cleanse? There's so much to tell you with very little time. So get help health-wise at GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. Or you can call our friendly operators at 928-308-0408. That's 928-308-0408. Get help and relief by going shopping. Shop at GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. Serving people with great products for over 8 years. GetTheT.com.
This is TalkNetwork.com.
Imagine no longer being tied down to your computer, but having the freedom to take live talk radio with you anywhere you go. TalkStream Live introduces our first ever iPhone application. The talk shows you follow now follow you. And your iPhone is now the fastest and easiest way to stay connected to the best talk radio on the internet. Let TalkStream Live transform the way you listen to radio. Listen to live talk shows 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Mobile talk radio from TalkStream Live. Now available in the iTunes App Store.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And this is Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
Yes.
We are of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
Hello, Fadernauts. Are you looking for the ultimate Bluetooth speaker system? Well, check this out. The Studio Dome surround sound system, featuring the Studio Dome 1 SD1 and the Studio Boombox SBB wireless Bluetooth speakers, is the perfect way to get surround sound without all of the cable headaches. With its own hard shell custom carrying case for taking your surround sound experience on the go. Each hard shell case comes packed with an SBB, 2 SD1s, cables, and power. It's just $99. And you use the promo code Jimmy, and you get yourself some free shipping. Once again, Studio Dome brings you the best deal on the net. Anywhere. Just go to the Studio Dome banner, JimmyChurchRadio.com, promo code Jimmy. Go Beckley Teppy.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
All right, welcome back to Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, our guest is Walter Cruttenden. He's the director of the Binary Research Institute right here in Southern California. And Walter just published... Walter, where can everybody go and see the article you published yesterday?
It's on the Binary Research main site. It's binaryresearchinstitute.org.
Okay. Now that you've had the opportunity to start to assess the data from Mike Brown and Constantine, what are your conclusions about what he has published? And then I want your thoughts on the back end of that. But what do you think his data actually shows?
Well, I think they've done some great work. You know, these guys are professional astrophysicists, and they've, really moved the ball since the Spanish talked about this back in 2014. And I think they've looked, more in depth at the actual minor planet patterns. I like the fact that they've sort of put a percentage on it. The odds of this being random or chance, that all the minor planets lining up this way, they said is 0.007 of 1%. So that's cool. And I think they're also being pretty realistic, a little humble, in that they're saying, they haven't found it yet. I do think they were probably looking pretty hard for the last couple of years, as some others were. But by releasing this and the information that goes with it, they're sort of opening it up to all other astronomers, physicists out there to join in the search. And you can bet it's going to be a pretty big search. I mean, who doesn't want to find a ninth planet?
Well, I had mentioned, a couple of years ago when the Spanish reports first came out, I was excited. It fizzled. It was like they never even released their information. And Mike Brown, granted, I guess, it's Caltech, but it was like really big news. And why Mike Brown and why not the Spanish? You know what? I don't want to put you on the block, but do you feel the same thing that I felt?
Yeah, I know what you mean a little bit. If it's worthy enough for some great scientists in the other part of the world to look at, why is it only worthy enough now to get the whole world turned on to it? And, Caltech's a great institution. Also, I do think that, Mike Constantine simplified the matter because, as you recall, the Spanish said, wow, this has got to be at least 2 planets that are causing this. And they kind of pinpointed it and said, it doesn't necessarily have to be 2 if the orbit goes in such a manner. And they did a bunch of simulations that it could be 1. And so I think cleaning it up, just made the whole story sell a little bit better.
Now, let's talk about your thoughts. What do you think that he has found, and does it change your data and how you're looking at it?
It doesn't change our data. I mean, it just takes us a step closer to it, because if you look at exactly what they're saying, they're not saying we found a planet. I mean, that would be truly big news, and it would stick forever. But they're saying there is now so much evidence that there has got to be some big gravitational influence out there, and so they assume that it's a planet. And so we've been saying the same thing. We've been saying, yes, there is a big gravitational influence out there. And so I think by people first looking for a ninth planet like they are, that it actually helps them, especially if they don't find it in a year or two, which is kind of what I expect, that they will start to look at, okay, what else could be causing this gravitational influence?
If it is, our binary, star, our little twin out there, why can't we see it?
Well, there's 2 schools of thought there, and one is that yes, it could be a very dim type of star, like a brown dwarf, red dwarf, and towards the galactic center, where there's a lot of noise in the background, and it would make it difficult to see. But I think that's pretty slim, quite frankly. And so there's another, track to go on this, and that is, well, what if it's a visible star and one close by? And so we've been seeing it all the time, but we just haven't realized that it's had a gravitational effect because it's long been assumed that the solar system is, static or barely moving, going at a very slow speed. And, each time they update those numbers, it appears that we're going, faster and faster and faster, and that kind of reduces the idea that there can't be a gravitational effect with a visible star. And so I do think that it is a visible star, and I have some very specific hypotheses there, but it will take a long time to test them.
Well, and how would you do that? And the other thing that comes to mind, with Kepler and the way that they are monitoring, looking for planets and the dimming of stars and suns out there. Wouldn't, if we had a body that large, wouldn't it, as it is going through its orbit, block out other things that are behind it, and we would see that light diffraction, and then we could measure where it is at and see its trajectory in its orbit? Wouldn't that be possible? Eventually, it's going to cross in front of another star, right?
Well, so if it is the dark scenario, then that's a possibility that it crosses in front of something, and so these pictures that these massive computers are taking of wide angles of the sky, and then they zoom in on certain areas and compare them day after day after day, they're going to find something that appears to be leaving a little trace like that. But again, if it's a visible star, then visible stars occasionally do occult other stars, but that's not how we discover them. We discover them because they're visible. We just don't know that there's any gravitational effect there yet until we start to study it. And I think the big thing that has, always bothered people is that, okay, if there's some star tugging on our solar system, there'd be some effects. And that's where Mike Brown's work is so important, that he's showing there are effects. There are, the farther you go away from the sun, the less they're gravitationally bound to the sun, the more they're being affected by something else that is out there. But I would say that there's also an effect, a very visible effect, on the planets that are near the sun and the actual sun itself. But that effect, which is so obvious to me, has been hidden with an incorrect theory of precession. And that gets a little complicated, but I think it's just very, very compelling. This idea that the Earth is wobbling only because of local forces having an effect on it.
That's right.
Is what seems to be happening is the actual whole solar system is curving through space, and yes, there are some little local effects, nutation, Chandler wobble, etc., but it doesn't explain 50 arc seconds of change per year. We actually see the sun moving across the sky over 50-point arc seconds per year, so that's roughly a constellation every 2,000 years or so. But it's long been assumed, and it started with Copernicus, because, he had just rearranged the solar system so the Earth wasn't the center. He put the sun in the center, and so he certainly couldn't have the sun itself moving, so he called it libration. He said the Earth must wobble. But clearly the sun does move across the sky, and if you just consider for a moment that the sun actually does move, then you're led to this idea of, what causes it to move, how fast is it moving, what's the trajectory.
Well, and you and I were talking about this last week, and I look, I'm not a physicist. I don't have those 3-letter things next to my name. I don't have any of that stuff. But if you think about this 20,000 year orbit, Mike Brown had said 10 to 20,000 years, and you're referencing this right now, and I want to go back to our conversation that we had last week. If it is swinging by, every 10,000 years, if it's a 20,000 year orbit, and it's swinging by our solar system, sort of in our solar neighborhood, every 10,000 years, and some of the events that have happened that we can time throughout history that are running at these 10 and 12,000 year cycles, precession and so forth, is that the direct result of this theoretical Planet 9? And that's the exciting part, if it could be. Is it possible, or is it just too far away?
Well, I think they're coming up with these estimates, and they're still kind of wide because it takes a long time to figure this out. But so I've read anywhere from 10,000 to 20,000 years is the estimate if it's a Planet 9.
Right.
And that gets us within the higher one gets us within 80% of what we've been writing for the last 10 years. That we will find that the roughly 24,000 year precession cycle, and actually appears to be like 25,770 years now, just because the two stars are far away from each other, and according to Kepler's laws, when things are far away, they're moving at their slowest, versus when the two masses are close to each other, they're pulled more, and so they're moving faster. And so we think that it averages out to about 24,000 years. And so that's just above the 20,000 year very early estimate that they've given. And I think so this idea that it's just a planet going around us can then slowly be replaced with the idea that there's actually our sun is moving at that rate across the sky, and therefore our whole solar system is moving at that rate across the sky. And you have to account for those effects, and it's the gravitational influence of whatever is moving the sun and the whole solar system, and especially moving the outer minor planets. That's the that's the gravitational influence.
And there's no coincidences, right? I mean, these numbers seem to.
This hypothesis doesn't create confusion. It solves a whole bunch of problems out there.
Exactly.
Let me name a couple. One really interesting one is that, NASA has been baffled by these unexplained forces acting on our space probes. And at first it was just called the Pioneer anomaly, because they noticed, Pioneer 10 and 11 were not exactly where they're supposed to be, and these were early space probes sent off, I think 1970s or so, and sort of the first to hit the edge of our solar system. And at first they just looked for, it must be something we didn't account for. Maybe there's a leak in them. And, if you saw the movie Martian, how he puts just a little hole in his spacesuit to move himself, it causes acceleration. And, well, there could be something in one of these space probes that's acting like that. But they really, did a heck of a lot of work to eliminate that. And then when they saw that it's also affecting Galileo, the NEAR mission to the asteroid Eros, Rosetta probe, Cassini to Saturn, etc., they're kind of throwing up their hands saying, this shouldn't happen. You have this unexplained force on all the probes. And the closest they've gotten, I think, is John Anderson's comments. He used to work at Caltech, where Mike works. And he said, the fact that this is most evident when probes are doing flybys of the Earth, or they're most asymmetrical with respect to the Earth's equator. He says it has something to do with the Earth's rotation. And that is so spot on, because if the whole solar system is moving, then you would have to account for that in these satellites that are, really not gravitationally bound to anything else. And it's just like, when you send a probe or just any spacecraft like they were doing at SpaceX, they don't try to fly straight up. They go east so they can get the spin of the Earth and get that roughly 1,000 miles an hour, relative to the Earth's core acceleration working for them.
Right.
And so that is what's not being accounted for. But anyway, that's just one piece of puzzle out there, a baffling thing that can be answered by a moving solar system.
And do you think it ties into precession as well?
Yes, exactly. So precession, that's what I'm saying. The precession theory does not work. It was first put forth, Copernicus didn't even have a formula. He just said, sun appears to be moving across the sky. It must be the Earth wobbling. He called it libration. So it was almost a few hundred years later, Newton comes along and says, okay, golly, if the Earth's wobbling, it must be due to my newly discovered gravity. And the sun and the moon, the two biggest objects around us, must be tugging on it. But nobody knew anything about nutation then. And so they said that's what causes precession. And they used Newton's formulas for, 100 years or something like that, until they realized they were totally wacky and didn't work.
Right.
And then other people came along and said, okay, but they didn't question the theory. They just said Newton forgot to account for some things. So we went from the sun and the moon, the loony solar precession theory, to now 4,000 inputs, the 300 largest asteroids, the thickness of the atmosphere, everything, even though the inputs are tiny, tiny, tiny compared to the sun and the moon. They figured that those must be having some effect, and that's what's wobbling the Earth and making the sun, as seen from the Earth, appear to move so fast across the sky. And I just laugh. I throw up my hands. Maybe the reason you have to change the formula every 10 years or so now, guys, and keep adding all these inputs is because the formula doesn't work and there's another cause behind it.
Now, you're Walter, you're a smart guy, and we have science and technology and computers and telescopes and Kepler and Hubble and everything that we've got going on in Hawaii and Chile, whatever. We have that data today. But how is it possible that the ancients, going back millennia, could account for precession and knew about it and knew about degree changes and how is it possible? I mean, what were they doing? Marking the dirt every single day? I mean, how were they doing it?
Well, there are these big megalithic sites, and so if somebody is looking from the same point at every equinox or solstice or some period of time, they would notice that, hey, the constellation is not exactly right behind this stone when we planted it.
Right.
And it would take a lot of observation because, it only moves 1 degree every 72 years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, so you would literally, I was talking to Jason Martell about this a couple of different times. You would literally have to be handing this down generation to generation. Like you're standing there and then 72 years later, you hand it off to your son, and you're telling him, okay, now that's where you got to watch. This is where you got to mark. And it had to go like that for hundreds of generations to accumulate the data, right? I'm not wrong. That's how they had to do it. There was no other way to do it.
Well, we don't know that there was no other way to do it, but yeah, if people thought exactly the way we do now, the son would probably say, Dad screwed up. He's got a degree off there. I'll correct this thing.
Right.
Yeah, and so you really wouldn't discover it, until somebody noticed it. Why is everyone correcting by a degree every 72 years or so? And I
find it mind blowing. Do you ever stretch your your imagination to the point where that maybe the information was just given to them from somebody else and they were taught?
I'm sure they were, because there's much grander stories than just observation. There's, the Greeks, they said, Plato called it the Great Year, and he broke it into 4 ages, the Iron, Bronze, Silver, and Golden Age. And there's myth and folklore about each age. And, we believe the sort of the Bronze Age and the Dark Age, because those happened in recent memory, but we don't believe the Silver and Golden Age, the age of the demigod and the age of the god, because those were so long ago and we don't have those powers now, therefore they must not exist. That must be fairy tale. And same thing with the Indians. They broke it into the Kali, Dwapara, Treta, and Satya Yugas, and give even more detail about the character of each age. That the one before, what the Greeks would call the Bronze, is the telepathic age, and people live much longer lifetimes. And sure enough, if you look at a lot of scriptures and the most ancient texts around the world, they're all talking about how people are living so old so long ago. Whether you're looking at the pharaoh's lists or the king's lists, the Chinese dynastic heroes, whenever you go back after, say more than 6,000 to 7,000 years ago, people are living a long time. And then as you get towards the Dark Age, people are barely living 50 years. And of course, now the last few hundred years, people are living longer ages again. And I guess, if you don't believe that there's a cycle of ages, you say that's a coincidence and all the old information is really wrong, and we're only increasing lifespans now because we're smarter and we live better.
Where did you get this fascination for this? What was your family like when you were growing up? Did you accidentally back off into this, or were you just looking at the stars when you were 5 years old?
I was always looking at the stars, just fascinating. I remember hearing about double stars, binary stars, when I went to summer camp, like 7 years old or something. And, they have telescopes there, and the guy was saying, see that star there? He told us all about it. Now he says, I'm going to show you something. And we looked through the telescope. It's actually 2 stars. We went, whoa! And always interested about it in the topic. And then, but kind of didn't get the idea of history and why we kind of dismiss these ancient civilizations, before the Dark Ages. They seem to be doing a lot of cool things. And then somehow we lost the ability to build arches and great structures and we lost a lot of medical knowledge and celestial mechanics knowledge and all this sort of thing. And so I wondered about that. And then I finally read a book written by an Indian sage, Sri Yukteswar, and he just says it's a book about something else. It's about sort of enlightenment process or path. But he has to say in the beginning of the book, the reason people don't know about this stuff is because we live at a fairly low age, and the reason we live at a low age is because we're in this binary star system, and we're very far now from the other star, and you'll understand someday why that hurts consciousness and stuff, but I won't get into it here.
Yeah.
It just was enough to make me go, whoa, maybe this is all tied together.
You're next, and I want to thank you for coming on the show tonight, Walter, and I know that you're a busy guy, and thank you for doing that. But your next conference, the 10th annual, is coming up in Rancho Mirage. Where can everybody get information?
Yeah, that's September 3rd, October 2nd, so there's plenty of time, but it's at cycleoftheages.org. I think we just put up the site, and we're just lining up the speakers, but we'll be talking about the whole thing we're talking about tonight in much more detail.
Yeah, I can't wait to. I'll be there. Who do you have lined up so far?
Dr. Robert Schoch's going to be there. He's a professor of geology at Boston University and probably the leading authority on Göbekli Tepe. So we're looking at this problem from what did ancient civilizations know and what are these structures trying to tell us. And then Michael Dunn, the expert on machining of ancient structures, is going to be there talking more about the Giza pyramids. And then we've got some other people that we're talking to. We're still doing the paperwork, so I can't mention too much yet. But generally, they'll be leading scientists in their field, and we're talking to a few astronauts, astronomers, too, also about kind of giving the perspective on the ninth planet.
Thank you so much, Walter, and I can't wait. I'll be down there for it, and it is September 30th through October 2nd, Rancho Mirage, California. Walter Cruttenden. Thank you so much, Walter.
Thanks, Jimmy. Take care.
Thank you. What a conversation. That's what I'm talking about, and it is Fader Night. Thank you, Walter Cruttenden. Now, let's open up the phone lines, 323-825-5045. It is Fader Night. Open lines all night long. Walter Cruttenden. Man, do I feel a little smarter.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Ray Sobbs here once again to tell you about the Space and Alien Snowfest Ufology Conference taking place in the ski resort city of Big Bear Lake in sunny Southern California. What a lineup. Richard Dolan, Chase Kletzky, Micah Hanks, George Norrie, Jason Martell, Jimmy Church, Linda Moulton Howe, keynote speaker Stanton Friedman, and more. Along with the speakers and lecturers, join the luncheon hosted by Jimmy Church. See a world-class UFO ET-themed ice sculpture contest with attendees voting the winner. Enjoy the quaint shops, restaurants, and pubs in Big Bear Lake Village, and enjoy some of the best sky watching you can imagine. After the hectic holidays, gift yourself with a retreat the first week of February and come relax with us in a premier ski resort town high in the mountains of the Southern Sierras with an average of over 300 sunny days a year. Take advantage and book your lodging early and get your tickets now. Visit our website and register at aliensnowfest.com. That's aliensnowfest.com.
This is TalkNetwork.com.
Did you ever turn to your radio for your favorite talk show to find that it's been preempted for this?
In the air to deep right center. Back goes Lewis to the wall, and it's out of here!
Or this?
And I'm ashamed of you, Hillary, for voting for it.
Do you have a favorite talk radio program that's not available in your city? Just go to TalkStreamLive.com for links to the best streaming talk radio shows. At TalkStream Live, you will find live talk shows 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. All your favorites are here. With such a large selection, you will also discover some new favorites. On the go and still want to listen? With the mobile smartphone, simply type TalkStream Live on your internet browser. Now you can take internet radio with you. You will also find hundreds of music, news, and sports streams. Best of all, the TalkStream Live directory is free and there's never a login required. Remember TalkStreamLive.com, the fastest route between you and your favorite talk radio show.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. It's Fader Night. Phone lines are open. 323-825-5045. Let's go, Walter Cruttenden. Yeah, that was amazing. Now, look. Yeah, I'm upset. I'm upset with Fox News. Fox Entertainment Tonight. Need to change the name of that broadcast and the network. And, yeah, I was upset. I do want to talk about it. What do you think when you're dialing in now after everything that I just presented at the front of this show? I need you to think twice now. When you're going to go and you're going to click and you're listening to those talking heads yap, I cannot give you a better example of being just lied to, manipulated. It just makes me angry. It's not cool. I mean, I love this audience, and you're going to go and see something like that or hear that. You know, you need to think about the frame of mind, the mindset that's coming at you and what they are actually trying to do. And it's not a political thing. It's not a Trump thing. It's not any of that. That is not what I am talking about. Has nothing to do with it. It's the fact that if you are a news organization, you're a responsible journalist, and you're saying that you are fair and balanced, which is all great. That's all good. That's all fantastic. But then you need to be all of that. Because fair and balanced is not what you did this week, Fox News. Oh, no. You tried to manipulate the mind, and it's uncool. Uncool. All right. 323-825-5045. 323-825-5045. Phone lines are open. Let's go. It's Fader night. I want to hear from you. We last night we had Reverend John Polk on talking about contact. And if you have had contact, if you are an experiencer, anything, I want to hear, just like I said at the front of the show, you know, this is the forum for you. I am impartial. I want to hear. I want to learn. I want to know. My ears are open. 323-825-5045. Let's go to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hey, Jimmy, this is Mark from Oregon.
Hey, Mark. How are you, man?
Better and better every day.
Yeah, that's good.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about blue people.
Let's do that.
Okay, so we had Reverend Polk on, and he was talking about his blue people experience.
Right.
And it started me thinking that all of the alien movies, like Avatar, you've got blue aliens. But further back in history, if you go, Krishna is always portrayed as being a blue alien god.
That's right.
And you know, most of the Vedic texts, the illustrations of the gods were portrayed as being blue.
Yes.
And then coming forward in time a long, long way, we had George Adamski talking about meeting aliens who were blue.
How about Star Trek? Remember Star Trek?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And what about Spock having blue blood?
Yeah, there you go. Yes.
And the term that we have, blue blood, and then we have people who talk about reptilian shapeshifters, and these people would be classified as being blue bloods.
Yes.
I'm just saying that the tradition goes back, millennia.
Yes. Now, how about you, though, Mark? Have you had contact? Have you ever seen?
Look, there's an alien in the woodpile somewhere. I'm sure of it.
Well, was it blue? You know what I mean?
Blue, gray. It's hard to say. I think that we're all part of a huge genetic experiment.
Yeah, it's interesting. I had my little experience, and unfortunately, and I get asked all the time, but I didn't see skin color. I didn't. I just saw, it could have been any color. But
in the dark, it's really hard to see color.
It was what it was. So I don't have that definitive experience where I can go, yeah, that's what I saw. That's what I experienced. I can't. But you're absolutely right. how many gods, deities, references throughout time have always been blue, green, gray. Never our
certainly
skin
the
color.
Indus Valley. The Indus Valley certainly had contact with blue godlike beings in way back in time.
Yeah, Jerry or John just said, or no, was it Jerry? He just tweeted he thinks Spock had green blood. It's all the same. Hey, Mark, thank you for the phone call, brother. And if I don't talk to you, man, you have a great weekend.
All right, you too. Bye.
Thank you so much. Casper Parks is on the line. Casper, how you doing? Casper, are you there? Well, he says he's here. Okay, Casper, 3, 2, 1. Casper, are you there?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good.
Okay,
good. Great shows this week, Jimmy.
Yeah.
Can you hear me, Jimmy?
Yeah, we got you. We got you, brother. We got you.
Oh, man.
I can hear you,
2,
Casper.
1.
Okay, so Casper doesn't have his headphones. He's going to have to straighten.
I'm here, but I don't think it.
Okay, Casper, get your stuff hooked up and call back. I'll put you at the front of the line. All right, let's let Casper get reset. Man, he's got the voice, doesn't he? That dude needs to get into radio. All right, 323-825-5045, 323-825-5045. Get in front of Casper. There you go. The shaking up in New Jersey that the residents experienced earlier today was caused by a sonic boom generated during U.S. Navy aircraft testing over the Atlantic Ocean. Officials with the Naval Air Station at Patuxent River in Maryland said that they were conducting testing of F-35C fighter jets over the Atlantic Ocean this afternoon, and that some of the aircraft performed maneuvers that could have caused sonic booms. And that is according to the United States Navy. So that kind of clears that up, right? Or is that just straight disinfo? We'll find out. 323-825-5045. The AK-47. Yes, that AK-47. The weapon of choice for guerrillas, terrorists, soldiers of armies all around the world. Some 100 million have been made in Russia since it rolled off the line in 1947. 100 million. Now, guess what? Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you sitting down? But now, the company's U.S. arm is planning to manufacture the gun at a plant in, wait for it, Pompano Beach, Florida. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Jimmy, it's Casper. I'm coming in on a phone this time instead of Skype. I apologize.
Yeah, it's okay, Casper.
I think I looked it wrong. I didn't put speaker on pause, and so I was kind of getting goofed up there. But great guest this week. I really enjoyed it, and a lot of stuff with that possible 9th, 10th planet. It's interesting that the projected orbit goes through the asteroid belt.
Yep.
And you could call that a debris field, because if it's orbiting through there, when it comes through, 1 year, 100 or 1,000 years or whatever, it's going to really wreak havoc in that asteroid belt or debris field. But it could be a debris field from having gone through that orbit prior. Could have like destroyed a moon from Mars or Jupiter or wherever. But it's just no one seemed to mention that asteroid belt and actually a debris field. There's pretty evidence.
I agree on both fronts. You have the Kuiper Belt, you have the asteroid belt, and I think evidence is, you know what, forget about the evidence. My mind, which I'd rather depend on than academia, my mind says that those are planets. That's what they were. They could have been multiple planets that collided a long time ago and broke apart, not just one. You have that. Then you have the Kuiper Belt. There's all kinds of stuff in the Kuiper Belt. and there's much more there than we even know about, and that's the strange thing for me. And then you put this planet in that orbit, and it's passing through. It opens up, just like Walter said. Did you catch that, Casper? It answers all of our questions for us. You know, it answers.
Oh, yeah.
It answers not one, not two, but I mean a multitude of things that we haven't been able to answer over the years. Somebody had tweeted. It's Cortana. Cortana says, "So how come we have the Hubble, right, which can show us distant galaxies by the bazillion, but we can't see stuff in our own backyard?" I find I didn't get a chance to ask Walter about that, but isn't that like the easiest question to ask in the world? We're sitting there. Do you remember the first time you saw a Hubble image? Do you remember that? And what we thought were stars were actually galaxies, right?
Yeah, then you got the deep field where they left the lens open for a long period of time.
Yes,
in a black area, and then bam.
Yes.
If this object, if it's there and it's coming through on that elliptical orbit, if it's dark in color, we might not see it with the naked eye because it would be almost camouflaged.
But that was my point to Walter. The way that we are measuring all of the exoplanets and finding them out there is the diffraction of light in front of other stars as they are orbiting in their own solar system, right? And so the orbit goes in front of the star, and we look at it, 20%, 18% diffraction, and boom, we know we've got a planet orbiting a star. And we have those calculations happening billions and billions of time all day long with this, software algorithms that are measuring all of these stars. We know what's out there. And now that's why we are finding, thousands of exoplanets. I get that and I understand it. Well, if there is something out in our solar system that, a ninth planet, 10th planet that Mike Brown has found, wouldn't that block out eventually another star, whatever's in the background, right? Wouldn't it pass in front of it? And why can't we measure that? So, or are we swinging, Kepler out in that direction now? And are we going to, start to shoot constantly images from that part of the solar system now, where theoretically this orbit would be in place? Don't you think that's the natural thing that we should be doing right now?
Oh, I agree 100%. Everybody should be pointing that direction and looking, and that we haven't, and there's enough people looking all the time. To me, it's astounding that no one has seen it, because, we orbit the sun, and, so we're swinging around from the direction, like right now, hypothetically, can't say where we would be in position to it, in the month of January, but let's say it's on the other side of the sun for us in January, but then come June, we're on the opposite side of the sun, so we should be able to see it.
Oh, and explain. That's interesting.
Yeah. So we should be able to see it, even if the other planets are passing between us and that object. There's still the orbits, none of them line up. They're always kind of odd. So, we should be able to look out and see it. And the only thing I can think of, well, if the body is so dark, we might not see it. But what you're saying is true, that we're able to measure the wobbles of distant planets and from other suns to determine, the planets in other star systems now. So we should have seen something by now. But if we haven't, maybe it's because we didn't look in the right spot. But
and this is Casper. You bring up one of the best points that, and it kills me that nobody is saying this. Mike Brown, with his image, his illustration that Caltech put out with these other objects in their orbit and this Planet 9 projected orbit, and where Planet 9 is allegedly right, or theoretically right now. Okay, if you're able to project all of that and get the math in place where you now have a theoretical orbit of 10,000 to 20,000 years, and it's 30 degrees off, and this is where it is, and this, then why aren't we looking in that projected orbit? What's the deal? Why aren't if that's it, and you've released the image, then why aren't we looking there? I don't understand. For them to say it's going to take 5 years to find it, dude, you just gave us the orbit. You know, you've given it to us, and it's right there. Why aren't we looking in that area right now?
Yeah, it's a good question. Why are we looking there? I mean, it's, you know, even if you says it today, you know, in January we're on this side of the sun, so we can't look there because it could be June before we're on the other side. I'm not saying it's that way. I'm just using that as an example.
Right.
You know, still, come June or July, we'll be on that side of the sun where its orbit allegedly is. We should be able to look. I'm not saying it's that way, where it's June, July, but you know what I'm saying is we'll be on the other side of the sun at some point where it's supposed to be. We should be able to see it, and it shouldn't take 5 years to find it. To me, that's ridiculous. I don't, because we have wide vision, and then we can narrow stuff down. To me, it makes no sense why it's going to take so long to find it. You know, it just doesn't make sense. And also that it's coming through in a 10 or 20,000 year cycle. It's almost like having the solar system or the planet Earth having an automatic reset button for civilization every 10,000 years. You know, resets everything.
Well, it doesn't, and I had said that to Walter, doesn't that answer that question? When we look at these 10,000 year cycles, I had said this to Walter last week, that I said it on the show too as well. You remember after Chris Medina was on, and I said that I laid in bed and had this little weird vision. If this is swinging by, you know, every 10,000 years, which means it's going to be on, you know, in our celestial neighborhood for about 2,000 years. That's 2,000 years to affect a lot of stuff. And could it be, you know, the last modern ice age? Could it be precession? If you back up and you go to, that's the last cycle that it went through 10,000 years ago. Göbekli Tepe happened, the end of the last ice age, which ended the last modern ice age between 12,000 and 8,000 BC, right? Okay, so if we start to look at all of it and then swing back 10,000 years before that, now we're at 20,000 years, and another 10,000 years before that, every time it has swung through the neighborhood, now we're dealing with things like precession, the start of the last modern ice age, and all of these other things are happening when this thing is swinging through. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist, no pun intended, to start to put all of these things together. And and Casper, go with me on this. Now you can cycle back through chunks of time. Keep going, keep backing up and start looking at what? How about climate change? How about dips in temperature? How about, you know, other things that, you know, and I brought up, you know, polar shift, and somebody said, well, dude, that hasn't happened. You know, that happened a long time. Well, you know what? It might have happened because this planet swung through, and we don't know what, you know, it's swinging through here, but where we are in the solar system and where the sun is, and it could have been a weird lineup of the planets and this thing coming through at the same time that we had something dramatically happen. We can't dismiss.
You know, if you look at war, for example, you know, 5,000 years ago, it was, you know, bows and arrows, spears, rocks, or whatever. If they look at what we do now, we can blow up entire continents with nuclear weapons. You know, what if there was a war and a planet got blown out and started that oblong orbit? And we don't know what happened. We have no idea. It could have been just something natural forming as well. You know, but you're right, it's like a reset button. Even the Sphinx, now we know the Sphinx at one time when it was built, there's a good probability, and you've had guests on the show have talked about this, that it was a tropical climate when the Sphinx was built.
Right.
You know, and just like you said, you keep going back in history, and, you know, the Earth recycles everything. You know, it gets covered with dirt, goes underground, gets ground up, and moved back into the cycle. So stuff that happened 30,000 years ago, most of the evidence is gone by now.
Yeah,
you know, if that makes any sense. But we still have the stuff from 10,000 years ago, you know, that we're looking at. Talking about climate change, the Great Lakes, for example, is usually at this time 27% frozen over. Right now, it's only 12% frozen. because of El Nino, but climate change too, yeah, it makes a big difference. And and they're saying when will it cycle through? Have they even given a projection on when it would come through between Mars and Jupiter? They haven't even given us an estimate as to when it's going to come through that area again. I don't think they know if it's there.
Right. Yeah, and the other, because the Earth is tilted, its axis is off. I don't understand why there hasn't been something else, some other theories applied to that. And now that we have, this theoretical Planet 9 that everybody was, ignoring throughout history. But now, if it is indeed here, what caused that? And could it be some causation from, Planet 9? For somebody to tell me that gravity isn't that drastic, and I totally disagree. What this is, and again, I don't have a degree. I'm not an astronomer. I'm not. But gravity is just sucking and pulling all over the place all the time. Things are, nothing is straight and even. It's not. It's just not. So what caused us to go off axis? What is causing the precession? What is causing the anomalies out in the Kuiper Belt and Neptune and Uranus? These are strange things, and I just...
This could have been the thing that wiped out Mars, changed the Mars atmosphere and everything else.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. It could be anything. And that's just me. But when we get something like this that comes into play, just like Walter said, suddenly we have the answers for that. I'll give you another example, Casper. When we look at, and I know we discuss this all the time, but when we look at all of history, where we come to a certain point and we just go, don't know. We don't know. It doesn't make any. No, we just don't know. All of these things that have happened, and it not only religion but other things, where nothing fits except for the possibility of either alien contact or an ancient lost civilization, i.e., Atlantis, Lemuria, Mu. Where that knowledge was handed off to us. And the only thing that answers everything conveniently is that. But nobody wants to open up your mind to it. Now we have this, the possibility of a Planet 9 swinging through here every 10,000 years on a 20,000-year orbit. And we have all of these things that have happened conveniently at these timestamps. I'm sorry. You cannot dismiss that is a possibility of why this is going down cyclically.
I agree. We have to watch out for now, or the hoaxes are going to pop up on the internet saying, "Oh, we got a photo of this or photo of that." We got to really approach everything with caution, with care, because there's, and it's going to happen because people are going to do that. They're going to produce these hoaxes and throw them up on the internet.
Right.
So we got to watch out for that. But yeah, I agree. There's so much in our history that we just don't know. And, how many times has humanity been reset through this thing, if it's there, through this thing orbiting through the solar system? I'm sorry I shouldn't use the word whipping because it sounds like it's going fast. It's probably not. But when it comes through, yeah, how many times have we been close to space travel or gotten to space travel or whatever, and all of a sudden this thing comes through and just throws us back to the Stone Age.
Well, I remember back in, and we're going to be up against a break here in a second, Casper, and I want to thank you for the phone call, but I remember when I was a kid, I was probably 10 years old, 6th grade, 5th grade, and I remember looking at a globe of Earth, and I'm looking at it, and I went, wow. Everything just kind of fits together. I spun it around and I was just kind of looking at everything, and everything fit, right? Fit together, the continents. And I had said to myself, I don't know what kind of light bulb went off in my brain, but it looks like everything was one chunk of land and it just kind of moved apart. Nobody told me about it. It was just an observation that I had made. I mean, South America and Africa plugged together like it's like nobody's business how they fit. And now, obviously, continental drift and that theory and everything else is accepted, but it wasn't accepted until the 1950s. You know, and that's a modern thing that now today we accept that idea, but it wasn't before. And so when we think about Antarctica or we think about Atlantis or Lemuria and the possibility of it existing, it's right there in front of us, you know? So I want to thank you for the phone call, Casper. Thank you so much, brother.
All right. Take care. Have a good weekend, Jimmy.
You too, Casper. Casper Parks, everybody. 323-825-5045. It's Fader Night. 323-825-5045. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. I'll be back. More of your phone calls right after this.
Hi, everybody. This is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
KGRA Radio. Intelligent talk.
Why do people order Life Change Tea? Because Life Change Tea helps the digestive system. Life Change Tea helps the colon unclog. The tea also helps with high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and many, many other health issues. Life Change Tea also tastes great. And Life Change Tea is not just green tea. Life Change Tea is a unique blend of 8 different herbs that go to town, cleaning your body of harmful toxins, bacteria, and parasites. Our tea is number 1. Are you ready for your life change? Let the tea help you. Log on to our online store of helpful products to get your body on track. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Or you can call us at 928-308-0408. That's 928-308-0408. Not all tea is equal. Read our website of all the factual testimonies that prove that Life Change Tea is working. Health is important, and our quality of life is very important. Don't wait to order. Expect a life change with Life Change Tea at getthetea.com.
Hi, I'm Richard Dolan. When I'm not hosting my radio program, The Richard Dolan Show on KGRA, or writing new books on UFOs, I run a publishing company. I'm proud to say that Richard Dolan Press has published some of the most fascinating books available on UFOs and related subjects. They include Dr. Bruce Maccabee's classic analysis of the UFO cover-up, David Marler's breakthrough book on triangular UFOs, Dr. Richard Sauter's unique work on underground bases, and other classics by Grant Cameron, Chase Kletsky, and Dr. Bob Wood. Not to mention intriguing works by Eve Lorgan and Laurie MacDonald that deal with truly bizarre phenomena. I'm proud to publish such high quality and original works, and there are several amazing books about to be released over the next few months. Go to richarddolanpress.com to learn more.
This is TalkNetwork.com.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Tappy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
Welcome back to Fade to Black. Tonight's Fader Night. I want to thank Walter Cruttenden for coming in. It was great. It's Fader Night. It's your night. 323-825-5045. 323-825-5045. All right, let's go back to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hi, Jimmy. It's Carolyn Okotoks. How you doing?
Hey, how are you, Carolyn? I'm great.
I'm good. I'm so happy to have heard Walter Cruttenden. Last year I read one of his books, and it was on the Terracotta Warriors. Have you read that one?
I've seen it. No, I haven't read it.
Well, he talks about how the way the hands are placed and the buttons that are shown on the different warriors, it all works into a code that has to do with the sun.
It makes sense to me.
Oh, man, I'm telling you. And he just ties everything that's up in one ball.
And, exactly. And, with Walter, and I have watched so many of his presentations and how he presents it. See, the thing is, and I really mean this, he's somebody that's been out there putting this information out for a long, long time. And, Mike Brown comes along and hits us with this Planet 9 thing. And I'm so happy for Walter and guys like him, because it's a validation of all of that hard work that, mainstream science has been, poo-pooing for so long. Look, Professor Lowell, was searching so hard. He knew that there were anomalies out there with gravity, and he was looking for another planet for a long time, and nobody wanted to listen to him either. And Walter's certainly not the first, but it's been going on for hundreds of years, looking for this other planet. But lately, for the last 10 years, he's been just screaming about this. And then boom, Mike Brown, hits it, and what it does, it just allows people to take Walter a little more serious. Wow, we lost Carolyn. She just dropped. She's up there in where's she at? Canada. Oh man, I've got other calls here. You know what, Carolyn, I'm going to keep the lines open because that sucks. But it's the truth. I mean, Walter has been doing this for a long, long time, and it just validates everything. 323-825-5045. Okay, now, a Russian jet sped by a U.S. Air Force spy plane in an unsafe and unprofessional manner over the Black Sea this past Monday, and the Pentagon is investigating the incident, which took place in international airspace. The Russian aircraft was an Su-27 fighter jet. And this is just the latest report of Russian jets buzzing. Our aircraft happens all the time in the same region. But Russian fighter jets, this is something that you have not heard. Russian fighter jets have intercepted American Predator drones at least 3 times in the first week of Moscow's air campaign over Syria. Think about that for a second. Now, also, this is something else. This is something that nobody's talking about, but I will. Right now, a total of 20 agreements worth $33 billion were just signed in France with Iran. Iran Air signed a deal to buy 118 aircraft from Airbus, valued at $25 billion. Peugeot of France, the car company, also announced a joint venture with Iran Khodro, their car company, to produce latest generation vehicles in Tehran by the end of 2017. French and Iranian companies also signed agreements in the sectors of air and maritime transport, airports, airport construction, health, agriculture. Oil and gas company Total in France inked a deal with the National Iranian Oil Company to purchase crude oil as well. Wow. That didn't take too long, did it? $33 billion worth of business over the last couple of days. Unbelievable. I know you heard about this. The French police arrested a man and woman today at the Disneyland Paris theme park hotel after the man was found with 2 handguns, ammo, and a Koran. Police also seized 2 small caliber handguns and 7.65 caliber cartridges in a box and a Koran. Why? This is the thing. Now, okay, yeah, the guy's checking into the hotel. They x-ray his luggage. They find the handguns. They arrest him and his girlfriend. Okay, why do they have to mention a Koran? Why do they have to do that? If it was a Bible, would they mention they found a King James Bible? Would they mention that? Doesn't make. I think it's uncool. I don't know if there's a relationship there. I don't. But is that news that we really need? Disneyland. Wow. All right. Affluenza teen Ethan Couch, convicted in the fatal 2013 drunk driving accident. You know, he killed, 4 people, is in the custody of the Texas juvenile authorities after being deported and put on a flight out of Mexico City earlier today. Couch landed in Dallas before noon and is scheduled to attend a detention hearing tomorrow because the law requires a hearing within 24 hours. Couch was scheduled to be medically screened and assigned to a housing unit at the Tarrant County Juvenile Detention Center. Now, I normally don't comment on stuff like this, but this is what makes me angry here. He's not a teenager. He's not a juvenile anymore. He's 18 years old. He left the country. Okay, let me back up. This is where I'm just a little bit angry on the breakdown of our system. Okay? He killed 4 people. I believe it was 4, right? It was 4, right? Got drunk. So a family was changing a tire on a car, I believe, and he goes by drunk, plows into him, kills 4 people. Paralyzed, I think, somebody else that was in the back of his pickup truck. I believe. It does. None of that really matters. But for a judge in our system to actually say that, you know, this affluenza defense, that he was rich and he was spoiled and he didn't know right from wrong, that right there, for a judge to even consider that, I know that if I was in court and I was facing these charges and I just killed 4 people, I'm not getting off. Neither are you. Right? And for that to happen, it's to me, if I'm a judge and they hit me with that, I'm going to come back and say, well, you know what? That's exactly why he did it. That's it. You can't hide behind money. That's why he did it. He did it. 4 people died. Okay, so that's why he did it. Great. He's guilty. He should have been tried as an adult then. Why? He had a driver's license. He was acting like an adult. He was drinking like an adult. He thought he was an adult. Try him as you want to be the big man? You want to be that guy? You want to act like an adult? You want to drive? You want to do all of that? You want to drink like you're an adult? Then we're going to try you as an adult. And you killed 4 people, and that's the end of the story. The affluenza thing, I agree with you. That is why he did it. Absolutely. We're not dropping charges over that. In fact, I'm going to boost this a little bit because it makes it worse. It's not an excuse. It was shocking. So now, this doofus gets busted on in a video. You know, what were they playing? Beer pong or whatever, right? And he gets busted. That thing hits the net, and him and his mom split the country. And once again, his lawyers tried to stop him from coming back to the United States. That was the first thing. So they get involved, money. And then they try to suggest that he left the country not under his own decision, like his mom forced him to leave the United States. They're trying to do that. They're trying to get up another defense going. And then they looked at everything and thought, well, if we keep him as a kid, so he comes back, worst comes to worst, right now, he's going to serve 180 days in a juvenile detention center, and then he gets to walk free. And I'm just thinking, how can we let how can it break down? He killed 4 people. How can we let our system just break down like that in front of us, and then we just stand back and say it's okay? The judge should have been thrown off the bench. That's the first thing. He should have been retried. That's the second thing. Third, he should have been tried as an adult. These are all how the system should work. 4 people died, and it was his fault. So now he's back in the States, and there's a possibility that tomorrow he could even be released. Yeah, that's one of the options. One, they switch him to an adult. He goes to an adult facility, and then he's going to deal with it like that. Or they're going to keep him as a juvenile, and he's going to go do his 180 days. Or they could actually just release him tomorrow. Unbelievable. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hey, it's Josh from Texas.
Hey, Josh from Texas. How are you, man?
I'm great, man. It's right down the street at Tarrant County Juvie Hall. I can guarantee you that they're whipping his ass. I don't control, but I've heard some stories, man. That's a rough place, man.
Yep.
I hope he gets his ass beat for lunch. Breakfast, lunch, dinner.
Yep, I agree with you.
I hope they start that son of a bitch to leave somebody at the scene of a crime, even to not render aid. He should be at the end of the rope.
Yep, absolutely, Josh. I agree with everything that you just said, and thank you for the phone call. See, somebody actually agrees with me. You guys are all getting it. Hi. Okay, hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Turn me down in the background.
Hi, Jimmy. This is your first Asian Federal from Allentown.
How are you, Casey?
Wonderful, Jimmy. You know why I called you?
Why?
Thank you so much. I couldn't sleep whole night yesterday. Just because that guest is in your show, I believed it. If it's not with your show or Coast to Coast AM or something else, I'd even not listened throughout the 3 hours. But I couldn't sleep after listening to that. Just to make sure I played your whole show to my wife today morning, and she told me, no, it's a fake. It's a fake. She couldn't even believe it. Because I know that how much research you do,
right,
and how worthful your guests are.
Yep.
And it was crazy. I couldn't sleep. I was telling my friends today, do you know this happened? Where do you get all these messages from? I said, don't worry, it's not cable. It's my radio show.
Yeah, well, see, and I agree with you, because yesterday as we were going through that, remember, just like you're listening, I'm doing the same thing. So as your thoughts and your imagination, you're putting yourself in that spot and you're thinking about it, and you're listening to not only John but Audrey and tell about the experience and how it went down. I'm doing the same thing that you're doing, and I'm.
When did this happen to me? How recent this one is?
What's that?
When this conference happened? Is it long time before?
No, it was last August.
Last August. Yeah, I heard many times, even you mentioned in your show that when you had something like this, the whole time you forgot to picture it or take a photo of it.
That's right.
And many people, they said the same thing, they don't know why they didn't do it. But after the fact, they realized that they couldn't record it. Why they didn't record it, it would have been approved. But this conference, so many people couldn't do it.
Right.
Really something, is it?
Yep. That's 100% right. And look, KC, when somebody tells me, that they forgot to take a picture, that they had their cell phone with them and they didn't take a picture, they didn't shoot a video, they had a friend with them that had it and they didn't do it. Look, this is no joke, and I've said this before, but everybody needs to understand. I'll put myself right in that spot. When I was over there at the Honda car dealership, when that thing came overhead, and it was spinning, and it was silver, and it was high, man. I'm talking 50 miles up, so it was big, whatever it was. And I'm looking at it, and it's moving slowly, and it's up there, and I'm standing there with 5, 6, 7, 8 guys in the middle of the parking lot, and we're all looking up at this thing for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. This thing went across the sky, not a cloud in the sky, nothing, blue sky, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And I'm watching this thing, and we were just fascinated. I'm standing there with my arms to my side, watching this thing. And what my mind was fixated on was I could tell that it was faceted, like a diamond has, sides to it, facets, because as it was spinning at a very consistent rate, it would reflect off the sun. So I could see its rotation, and I'm looking at it, and it was going against the wind, and it was very slow, and it was in a straight line. If it would have been anything else, like a balloon or something up really, really, really high, it wouldn't move in a straight line, and it wouldn't go against the wind. And these were all the things that I was thinking about while it did this. And then what did it do? It stopped. It stopped, and it sat there for about maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes. I'm not sure. A good length of time. And it stopped spinning. Because that facet, as it was spinning and the reflection off of the sun, right? All of that is going on. And it stopped. And when it stopped spinning and we're all tripping on it, then it just slowly just went up and then disappeared into the blue and then was gone. Now, I had 20 minutes standing there with everybody else to shoot video, to shoot a picture, and after it was gone, I said to myself, dang, I should have shot video. Why wasn't I shoot? Why didn't I take a picture? And I didn't. Why? Because I stood for 20 minutes, Casey. 20 minutes I stood there and watched this thing with everybody else. And I turned to the guys that were standing there, the Honda salesman. Dude, did anybody get a picture? No. Anybody shoot? No. Oh, man, none of this did.
That's what, Jimmy, I was wondering that, I have heard this one, in your show itself, many people saying that they encountered this, but after the fact, they realized that they could have taken a picture or a video or something like that. But this is an open conference. So many people are there. It's really fascinating, these kind of stories. I'm telling you, I called you really just to let you know that what a guest you had yesterday. I have listened to, like so many guests of yours, the Wishing Machine program, Dolan, all those things. But yesterday's program, I was thinking about it. I went out, had 2 smokes, came back, and again I was thinking about the show.
Yeah, thank you so much, Casey. I did the same thing. And
good show, Jimmy. Great job. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Casey. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hi, Jimmy. This is Bev.
Hey, Bev. How are you?
Oh, pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing good. It's Fader night, and, just have Walter Cruttenden on. And...
Did you hear Bob?
I can't hear you. Go ahead, Bev.
Oh, Bob says, hey, Jimmy.
Oh, hey, Bob. All right. Yeah, it was a great week on the show, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
So what's up, Bev? You called me.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% about that affluenza people. I mean, the guy killed 4 people.
Yep.
Was the judge bought off?
People have suggested that. It feels a little funky to me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because there's been how many other countless people that have, killed people drunk driving, and they serve a lot of time.
Yeah, they do. They do. And to See, this is where I totally disagree with all of this and why the judge was completely wrong and should be kicked off the bench. Affluenza was an invented word. That was they made that up, and there was no cases, there was no precedent set. That this has been going on for 100 years, and there's examples of affluenza. No, it was made up. They paid doctors and psychiatrists to come up with this defense, make up this word, and hit the judge with it. And there you go. Now, look, this is the other thing that is difficult for us to chew. In this country, you are allowed defense. You are allowed. That's the beautiful thing about this country. You are allowed, entitled to the best defense possible. Okay, all right, I get that. But is this a situation where the defense was presented because of money? They went and they paid doctors to come up with a fake illness, this affluenza, create a word, and then did money not only get him into this, but get him out of it too as well? And that's where our system completely broke down. All right.
Oh yeah, and what is affluenza anyway?
Well, that's it. Which is he was spoiled and he didn't know right from wrong. That money.
Please.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't care if you're spoiled beyond belief. You still know right from wrong.
Well, he did. Of course he did. It's not about any of that. It was just what his psychiatrist wrote up in their report and hit the judge with it, and the judge bought it. And that's the thing. And it's wrong. We all know. Everybody know. You know what? Check this out. The kid Couch knows he's wrong. His parents know that he's wrong. The judge knows. Everybody knows. Everybody walking. There is nobody in America right now that says, you know what, affluenza? Yeah, man, that's real. Yeah, that kid was affected. Yeah, he shouldn't have done time. He was affected. No, he wasn't schizophrenic. He didn't have some kind of crazy disease. He didn't fall and bump his head. None of that. No, it was all made up, and it's a breakdown of our system. That judge should be disbarred. Disbarred,
yes, he should.
Disthroned.
He should be Yep.
It's a she.
He should be thrown off the. Oh, she.
Thank you so much.
Should be thrown off the bench.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you for the phone call, Bev. Have a great, safe weekend.
Well, you too, Jimmy.
Thank you, Bev.
Bye-bye.
Do you agree with me on this? Look, I know this show is about conspiracy. I get that. UFOs, lost civilizations, paranormal, ghosts. That's what this show is about. But when we have a situation in front of us that we're all confronted with, that we have to sit and when you heard about Couch and affluenza and the way that it was, I mean, were you just outraged as much as I was? It doesn't make any sense. I'm telling you, your brother, your sister does what Couch did, they go to prison. Your son or daughter does what Couch did, they go to prison. If you did what Couch did, you go to prison. That's it. And for some reason, he gets off. He had to go get counseling. What was it? I forget. He had to do a year of rehab in Southern California that cost, $30,000 a month or whatever it was, $50,000 a month. And they were able to pay for that. You know what? None of us get that kind of treatment. It doesn't work that way. Life doesn't work that way. But it did for him. And then what does he do? And then turn around and splits the country. And there's a chance. I mean, he runs. And there's a chance that he could actually just walk away. How can our system break down? The dude killed 4 people. Doesn't make sense. OJ bought his defense. He got off. Caught up with him. Karma caught him. Not that he ever gets out. But this kid Couch, now we have him. He's back. I'm telling you right now, I skip parole. I skip probation like that after killing 4 people, and I split another to a foreign country, get caught, deported, brought back in. am I walking out the next day? And it's possible that that's what's going to happen to him. It's an outrage. It's an outrage, man. We should literally, wherever that is in Texas, right? It's in Texas. Man, they should be protesting right now. Mothers Against Drunk Driving. Where's MAD when you need them? Protest signs out front. That's a protest. Forget about Oregon. Right now, you want a real protest? Go hang out in front of that courthouse. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. 323-825-5045. Taking your calls when I come back after this break. 323-825-5045. I'll be right back.
Hey, what up, y'all? It's your girl Vivica Fox here, and you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
Hi, folks. Ray Hobbs here with KGRA to tell you about something very special taking place in February 2016. I'm talking about the Space and Alien Snowfest Ufology Conference taking place at the beautiful ski and snowboard resort city of Big Bear Lake in sunny Southern California. We've got Richard Dolan, Chase Kletsky, Micah Hanks, Jason Martell, Jimmy Church, Linda Moulton Howe, Mike Barra, and keynote speaker Stanton Friedman will be presented a Lifetime Achievement Award. George Norrie and his producer Tom Danheiser from Coast to Coast AM Live will be with us all weekend. After the hectic holidays, gift yourself a retreat on top of the world the first weekend in February 2016 with a one-of-a-kind ufology event featuring some of the top minds in the field. Take advantage and book your lodging early and get your tickets now and register at aliensnowfest.com. I'll be there. Don't miss out.
This is TalkNetwork.com.
Hello, Fadernauts. Are you looking for the ultimate Bluetooth speaker system? Well, check this out. The Studio Dome surround sound system, featuring the Studio Dome 1 SD1 and the Studio Boombox SBB wireless Bluetooth speakers, is the perfect way to get surround sound without all of the cable headaches. With its own hard shell custom carrying case for taking your surround sound experience on the go. Each hard shell case comes packed with an SBB, 2 SD1s, cables, and power. It's just $99. And you use the promo code Jimmy, and you get yourself some free shipping. Once again, Studio Dome brings you the best deal on the net. Anywhere. Just go to the Studio Dome banner, JimmyChurchRadio.com, promo code Jimmy. Go Beckley Teppy.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Welcome back to Fade to Black. I'm outraged. Man, I'm hot tonight. Just hot. I'm angry. Angry. Fox News. God, they should be ashamed. And I was just thinking during the break that maybe, just maybe, like this judge in the couch case, and other examples of people that are signing off on responsibility, that maybe, you know, when you go and if you're a judge and you sign off on something like that, that maybe when you put your name on, there should be a little thing right underneath that. I will serve the time. This guy screws up. This guy goes out and kills somebody else. This guy breaks parole. This guy breaks, I'm setting him free, but I'll accept responsibility. I'll do the time. I'll put my name on the line. And then they'll think twice about it, won't they? You know, there needs to be some culpability. There needs to be some kind of responsibility here. Now think about that, right? If a prosecutor or a defense attorney, right? Prosecutor makes a deal and allows somebody to walk. They make a deal. And then that guy goes out and commits another crime or kills him. That prosecutor goes to jail too. Then think about that. Judge agrees to something like that. That judge right now, seriously? You think that judge would have signed off on it then? Allowed him to go to a 1 year? I mean, you know, somebody had just posted as I'm saying this in Twitter. You can follow us on Twitter, by the way, at J Church Radio. Somebody just said, you know, public caning of the judge. You know, think about the families of you know, the victims here. Those families, how do they feel today? I mean, how do they feel? I would just have lost my mind. You know, if my son or my daughter was killed or my sister was killed by Couch, and dude just jumps on a plane and goes to where did he go? Acapulco, Puerto Vallarta, wherever he was found. At a resort, and he gets busted ordering pizzas. That's how they found him. Dude is living it up, pina coladas, pizzas at a Mexican resort, and we have, you know, four dead people here in the States. It's not right. It just doesn't make sense. There needs to be some responsibility here. How about the psychiatrist that signed off on that? Now, that's the other thing. That's the other angle. That's where I'm going with this. The psychiatrist that signed off on that created affluenza. And by the way, Les, thank you for posting the definition here. The definition is a psychological malaise supposedly affecting wealthy young people, symptoms of which include lack of motivation, feelings of guilt, and a sense of isolation. Oh, I feel so bad. Now, how about that psychiatrist, that psychologist, whoever, that signed off on that and presented that to the judge and got him off? Why doesn't he go serve the time? Yeah, you can sign off on this, brah. You can sign off on this, sure, but if you do, you're responsible. He runs, he kills somebody else, you do the time. Now, are you willing to do it now? Huh? Same thing when it comes to, you know, the psychological sign off, you know, for a gun permit. How about that? You want to sign off on this? You want to allow somebody that's got some mental instability in their past, but you're going to sign off on this and he can go purchase a gun and he goes kill somebody and it's your name on this? You signed off on this? How about that? Things would change. 323-825-5045. 323-825-5045. Has anybody tonight during the show, does anybody got any updates on the debate, the Republican debate? And I only ask because what do you think the ratings are? What do you think the ratings are without Mr. Trump there? You know, and the reason why I'm so outraged about this is because us, you know, this is for the election. This is the president of the United States, and we're trying to figure things out. And Fox goes and screws it all up for everybody. It's a last chance, not only for all of those schmoes that are up there right now, Cruz and whatever, that are up there right now. It's their last chance to present and debate, you know, Trump, who's the front runner. And you've denied us, the American public, that last debate, that the opportunity to make up our minds. Not that I would, but we were denied that. That's what it just makes me so angry. But if you're Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, what are you going to do? You get up there and you're in a gunfight by yourself. and you're not giving whatever, Trump or whoever, the opportunity to debate. I think it's a complete outrage. For Fox to do that, the reason why it's completely wrong, it's very simple. For Trump, what he needs to do, and he should be offered the opportunity to go up and be in a situation where it's a level playing field. That's it. I don't care about Trump. I'm speaking about everybody, right? And if he doesn't feel that it's right, and it's his right not to go, all right, okay, I get that. But for him to be put in that position is wrong. It's completely wrong. And we're all watching it play out right in front of us. And we think, oh, it's Trump, again, playing to the system, and it's a reality show, and he's just doing this because he wants to take his toys and go home and leave the sandbox. It's not about that. Trust me, his ego and everything else wants to be there. But we've turned the debate, which is supposed to be something cool for us in our electoral process and how we're determining where we're going to swing our votes, that we've turned that into a mockery. We've turned it into not only how many people are going to be there watching, viewership, to advertising sales, and we've turned it into, Fox has turned it into reality television, the exact thing that they are complaining about Trump. And it's happening right in front of us. It's a shame. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
This is Dino, Jimmy. How are you tonight?
Hey, Dino. How are you? I'm outraged, man.
Yeah, you are. I want to, all I'll say about that, I want to talk about Planet Nine, but I will say two things. Justice in this country, like many countries, is uneven, okay? You can't expect it to be the same. I've gotten away with a few things in my life, and then other times I've had things come back down on me from the man, as they say, or from the bureaucracy that are not right. They're not handled correctly. And anything from how a traffic or a parking ticket is handled when you didn't do anything wrong, but you still get fined or punished for it, to your mortgage interest rate, even though you're an honest person. There's a lot of unfairness, and being a Libra like you, we rage all our lives because we want things to be fair and equal, no matter who you are and where you come from or what color you are. But it ain't that way. Life is not fair sometimes.
Well, yeah, but in this case, we're talking about blatant, flagrant swings in the justice system. Okay, it's not about, look, when somebody kills somebody and they plead the insanity defense, I immediately go back to one thing. Dude, that for somebody to kill somebody, they are insane. I mean, cold-blooded murder. I'm not talking about somebody that goes and shoot somebody that raped his daughter. I get that. I understand. It makes sense to me. You're just mad. But if you're just going to go out and break into somebody's house and just kill somebody or whatever, you're just insane. You're insane. You're not mentally stable. That doesn't stop somebody from going to prison for life. It's not right. And for this kid, I can tell you right now, in the United States prison system, there are a lot, thousands and thousands and thousands of people that are in jail right now doing prison time because of a DUI where somebody was injured, somebody was hurt, somebody was paralyzed, or somebody was killed. Okay? And they could have been rich, they could have been poor, they had their own excuses. What about poor-fluenza? I was poor. Yeah. I was poor and I didn't know right from wrong. You can't
but, you know,
use
we could
that.
go back to a root. All you're saying is true, and you could go on for a half an hour, but I'm trying to tell you that in America now, look at the education system. I mean, there's a lot of improvements that have been made, but the bureaucrats and the system, as we call it, the big system, whether it's a dark system or not, or a hidden government, they're made to keep us tied up. You have children nowadays. Remember when you and I got in trouble at school, and we tell our parents, "Oh, that teacher didn't know what he was doing," or that principal. The parents would say, "Shut up," and they'd tell them. I'm not advocating beating children, but they'd say, spank them for me if they're not listening to you. It's just the opposite. The last 20 years or so, they've got all these regulations about how to educate kids, but you know what it comes down to? Now the teachers are wrong. You're in a classroom, and a child, it doesn't matter if they're in high school or middle school, even elementary school, I've seen them turn around and tell teachers, "Oh, you don't know what you're doing," or "I'm going to tell my mom," or when they're caught at doing something wrong, which is what we're talking about, they go home and complain to the parent, and then the teacher's got to go into a meeting with the principal and the parent over something that the kid should have been corrected on, but the parent won't have it because teachers don't know what they're doing, and you're not to touch my child.
Right. Yep.
So I think that then when they grow older and they hit someone in a car like you're talking about, it's still the same thing. "Oh, no, I can get out of it. I have an excuse."
Yeah. I've discussed that many, 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 many times on this show. Yeah. No,
well, can I talk about Channel 9? Can I engage you on that, on the astronomical level for a bit here?
Sure.
Okay, well, the thing that I've always thought, and I did take a little astronomy, I don't know. I'm still gathering facts on this Planet 9. But if it does show up, I mean, the calculations show it will and all, it just seems to me from what I learned about our planetary system, at least our solar system, that it would sound more like it would be a binary system where the other planet that they're calling Planet X was a star that didn't quite ignite. And a lot of the evidence that's been coming in from Kepler and other things is that, Hawkins will tell you this too, that they think that the majority of stars out there are binary stars. So if that's the case, I don't know, but that could be a good argument that this is not a planet at all. They say it's probably very gaseous and maybe doesn't even have any rock or metal in it. And if it is gaseous or plasma-like, it just maybe it's not plasma. It didn't ignite, and therefore that's why it's got such a great gravitational force on us, that it comes around, and that maybe both our sun and this other, quote, Planet 9 are around a central point orbiting around each other, and that could affect all the orbits of all the planets.
Yeah, and again, yes, and everything that you just said is on the table. What I can't deny here is the coincidences. If everything that Mike Brown and Constantine say are correct, theoretically, let's just say it's a 20,000 year orbit. So every 10,000 years, right? Every 10,000 years, it's in the downswing, right? So you have 10,000 years up, 10,000 years back, right? Am I making sense?
Yes.
All right. Okay. So, and they're suggesting that it's somewhere between 10,000 years and 20,000 years. So, but if we start to look at it in those terms, then we can go back and look. We can look at sediment. We can look at rocks. We can look at ice. We can look at civilizations coming and going throughout history, where we see climate change, dips in temperature, and increases in temperature. We can look at all of these cyclical things that have happened. We know statistically we can put these charts and graphs together. And we start to look at this, and then it starts to answer these questions. Precession is something real. We know it's there. And these cycles and temperature, I keep bringing all of this up, but it Göbekli Tepe, 10,000 years, whatever, everything seems to now kind of line up with the possibility of something swinging by here every 10,000 years. And people need to wrap their mind around that. I know George Norrie said there are no coincidences. And I say it all the time. There aren't any. There's not. We've had all of these blank spots in our theories over the years. So we didn't have any answers for anything. We didn't have any answers. No answers. Now this does answer quite a bit. He brought up a really good point. Voyager going out of the solar system, that thing was all over the place, and we couldn't figure out why. Well, here we go. And if we just had an alignment of the 5 planets, right? The 5 visible planets. And if we start to swing back, and we could do this, with software, and if let's think about this for a second. What if we actually do discover the planet, right? Now we know physically where it's at, and now we're able to find out what its orbit is, right? And swing through. And we start to now calculate. We can see its speed, and we know what's going on. And then we start to back up through time. And what if, at a specific date, 10, 12,000 years ago, that all of the planets and this and everything lined up at the same time, and we had something magnetic, gravitational that was extreme, something crazy, right? And
it's a game changer, all this.
It is a big game changer. And I don't want anybody, I'm not going to name names, who I started to go toe-to-toe with last week about this. They were telling me, it's too far out. It's this. We don't even know if it's real. It's not. The gravity's just not going to be affected like that. And no. I was just dumbfounded that a scientist like that would stop me in my tracks and just ignore the evidence and not even want to consider it. And I don't know.
It's not only a game changer, it's just so many things, and even going to the anthropology that we often discuss on your show could be explained about how old civilization is. Maybe a civilization died off before us.
That's right.
And everything, and then you go to the astronomical level. Yeah, why is our axis tilted 32 degrees or something? All these things. I mean, it's kind of scary. I have to admit, sometimes I learn so much from your show and your guests. People think I know it all. I don't know it all. That's why I listen. But when someone comes along and talks about Planet Nuru, I kind of was saying, they're kind of out there. But now, with the scientific evidence adding up, I'm open-minded to it.
Yeah, exactly right. And look, I keep bringing up Sitchin and Nibiru and the Sumerian text, but this is not that data. Whether the translations are 100% accurate or not, whether Sitchin was 100% accurate or not, no matter what, the stories are there. Right, and the King's List and the dynastic periods coming out of Egypt and all of that. When we start to look at it, it was data and stuff that was just written off as science fiction, as fantasy. Now, what if, man? What if they were right? That's the thing.
Well, that's the thing. Where does that come from? I have a great imagination, always have, but all these science fiction writers, it can't all be, especially the classic science fiction. So, we always talk about Spielberg or Carter or someone being read in on something. There's bits of truth. Sometimes truth does not reveal itself as one shining light. Sometimes It's little points of light.
Yes. And we can't, I don't want to... hold on for a second. I've just got Trump debate breaking news coming in here. This is going to be interesting. This is coming in from Renee. And right as I clicked on it, of course, my email crashed. So we'll have to wait for that for just a second. How much of it do we dismiss as fantasy? Okay, hold on for a second. Let's see. Fox News, Trump wanted... interesting. Okay, this is coming from MSN, and apparently Trump wanted $5 million to participate in the debate. Donald Trump told Fox News he would only participate in Thursday night's GOP debate if the network donated $5 million to charity. Okay. Now, this is coming in. This is reported from MSNBC, and I'll tell you right now, if I was Trump and I was presented with the same situation, I would have said 10 million. But yeah, you know what? I'm glad he did, and I wish Fox would have paid it. That would have been absolutely.
Well, I'm telling you, when you got all of our media, at least in the United States, but in the world, probably owned by 5 main owners, how are we getting any real news except from Renee?
Right. Yeah, she's the best. Thank you, Dino. Have a great weekend, man, and we'll see you on Monday.
Thank you for the show. Enjoy.
I'll talk to you. What's up, Les?
Hey, Jimmy. How you doing tonight?
Are you talking?
I loved Walter, man. He was great.
Hey, he's the best. Are you talking to me on your new Spark microphone?
No, not yet. I didn't have time to set that up, but I'm gonna be messing with that this weekend.
Okay, you got to get headphones too now. You know that.
I know. I'm just trying to pick out which ones I want, man. Jonas did me a solid by sending me that.
Yeah,
man.
that's pretty cool, man. That's a great microphone. It's a great digital interface. That's a game changer. It's going to change your life. But listen, when you get your headphones, get over the ear headphones. Okay.
Okay.
Don't get in-ear. Don't get anything that sits on. No, you want over-the-ear, perfectly sealed headphones. You know why?
Okay.
Because when you start talking on that microphone, if you have open-ear headphones or in-ear stuff, it'll leak back into the microphone.
Thank you.
Yeah,
that's a great tip. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you want to seal that baby off, man. You want to just over-the-ear sealed real headphones. So just
reminds me of the ones I used to use. Listen to my dad's reel to reel, man.
Yeah, well, it's something like that. But actually, just get some Sony V6s. V60, V6. Okay. The ones that they fold up, running about $80, $90. Cool. That's what you want, and that's what I use. And you'll be 100% totally happy. But that microphone is insane. You got to get a little mic stand now. Yeah, man, you got to go all in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a nice mic. Yep. Yeah, Les got himself a blue microphone, a blue Spark. Yeah, man. Jonas did you a solid. I almost complained. I was gonna write. I'm like, Jonas, man, why aren't you hooking a brother up, man? So, yeah, what a crazy week on the show, man. I mean, it was just it was one of those weeks. It was just like a perfect week on Fade to Black.
Dude, when is it not a perfect week on Fade to Black? Tell me one time.
It only happened once. You know what's funny? Next week we will hit. I think next week we are at 400 episodes, right? And I was
it'll be on Fader night.
Yeah, it'll be. No. Actually, we won't do it because next Thursday we're going to be in Big Bear, so there won't be
right.
Yeah. There won't be a Fader night next week. I don't want to bum everybody out. We've got a great Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday all lined up, but Thursday night, no, we're going to be in Big Bear Thursday night. So there you go. So there won't be any.
Sweet.
So we'll get to $3.99 next week. But out of those 400 shows, really, honestly, there was only one that went south, and which shall not be named and will never be named. But even that show, I still tried to save it, and I was still respectful. So even then, we really haven't had a show tank. You know, they've all been good all the way back to show number 1 with Steve Murillo. So I feel pretty good about that and pretty cocky. Even the one that went bad, wasn't that bad. It could have been a whole.
No, you hung on the whole show and kept him on the whole show when it could have it could have blew up, and it literally could have, the show could have ended early. You kept it going. You really did.
Yeah.
Perfect Jimmy.
Yeah.
Perfect Jimmy.
Yeah, we got lucky. All right, Les, swing us out of here, brother. Get us out.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Walter Cruttenden, for tonight. First, Jimmy would like to thank all the first-time callers and Fadernauts who phoned home tonight. Fade to Black executive producer is Rita Camarion. Special thanks to LJ3, that's me, Renee, Jonas, Mark. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Bob. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vito, and Mark D. Kovar. Faded by Dale. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music is by Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy. See him at spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, syndicated on KGRA and Now Talk Network. And with that, for the week, Jimmy and I are out of here.
Thank you so much, Les. Have a great, safe weekend, brother.
You too. Good night.
This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2015 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. I want everybody to be safe. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you on Monday. Go Backley Tappy.